So I've gone ahead, looked at the forums, the Facebook posts, and Instagram posts, all of that, and I've collated top 20 questions that people are asking about the Flow 2 Pro from Insta360. And these are the answers that I've actually put from the best of my knowledge of using the Flow 2 Pro. What are the key features of the Insta Flow 2 Pro? The Insta Flow 2 Pro offers 3-axis stabilization. That means it basically has motors for all the 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. It has DeepTrack 4.0, which is AI or machine learning based tracking. It is part of the Insta360 app, so you're not actually trying to install something new. You install the app, you get the DeepTrack 4.0, but it works perfectly from a functionality standpoint of view if you're installing it on an iOS app and then you're using a Flow 2 Pro. It has 360 degrees infinite pan, along with tracking, a built-in tripod, extendable selfie stick, which is of a not bad distance, gesture control, and compatibility with Apple Dock Kit for seamless integration with iPhone camera apps. But this is a caution or a tip that you got to remember. If you want to have the DeepTrack 4.0 work smoothly and effortlessly with your other apps like Teams and WhatsApp video calls or FaceTime video calls, you got to invest approximately Australian $65 Flow 2 Pro's tracking camera or AI tracking camera, and that will actually ensure the tracking is actually spot on. If you're using the in-app based tracking, it's sometimes available in other apps and sometimes it's not. It has not been a smooth experience to get it worked all across when I don't have the AI tracking module, but once you actually buy it, which I've not bought yet, and actually install it on your Flow 2 Pro, the tracking is much more smoother. At least that's what the sample videos say. Which smartphones are compatible with Flow 2 Pro? The Flow 2 Pro and its app of Insta360 has been designed keeping in predominantly iOS users. So you would need iOS 11.0 or higher and an iPhone of model 8 or higher to go ahead and use it. It's preferable to have iPhone 12 or more, especially the Pro models, if you want to utilize all the cool functionalities available in the Flow 2 Pro. Now, having said that, you can still use Android phones like my Pixel 8, but then the amount of functionality that is available is limited of what you can get in the Insta360 app. And I don't think there is a lot of cross-app, collaboration or able to go ahead and use non-native apps of Insta360 in an Android environment and still have tracking working. So the preferable thing, because the Insta360 app is actually using Dock Kit, which is the Apple Dock Kit part of the Apple iOS ecosystem, it's better to have an iPhone 12 Pro and above, including the Max models, to see the full range of functionality a Flow 2 Pro can actually provide for you. How strong is the magnetic phone clamp? The magnetic phone clamp is pretty strong actually and holds securely my iPhones. In fact, as you can see this example, I have my iPhone 15 Pro. It's perfectly balanced. I did not do any balancing routine for it. In fact, I did not even do a balance calibration, but it has been quite easily tracking me without any challenge. What is the battery life of Flow 2 Pro? The claimed battery life of Flow 2 Pro is actually 10 hours of continuous work time. Now, I actually charged the Flow 2 Pro fully and I was able to use for 1.5 days of filming, on and off, obviously, during my travel to one of the local places, Varnambal here in Victoria. And I had absolutely no issue for 1.5 days. And then the amount of recharge time that it needed was roughly just an hour and a half, which is basically the time taken to drive between 2 different spots here in Victoria. And I was pretty much happy by the time I was in the second location. I had the Flow 2 Pro have almost a full amount of charge, and I easily started, filming again, literally zero interruptions. Now, if you would like to see what's your charge that is there on your Flow 2 Pro, it's very simple. Just pick this up, and you're able to see the LED being pointed out in one way. And wherever the LED points, it basically has a meaning, whether it's 25% of charge, 50, 75, or it's fully charged. Typically, you press the M button for you to know whether the charge is full or not. So that's the full charge. and then it's actually on a standby mode now. Can the Flow 2 Pro charge my phone? Yes. The Flow 2 Pro, although it actually has like 1000 plus milliamperes of battery in it, can also actually in a pinch charge your phone. It's preferable if you're using a phone which is having a USB-C input, but even a lightning input can be accommodated. It has a separate port on the Flow 2 Pro itself to go ahead and actually charge this. Let me show you an example of that. Although you're not going to use such a long USB cable, it's preferable you use something which is roughly around 250 mm. You do get a charging cable from USB-C to USB-C when you buy the Flow 2 Pro. Insta360 is pretty good like that. I'm going to plug it into this port here, which is right where the magnetic mount is. And then I'm going to plug into my Pixel 8, switch on the camera, and now it is actually charging. So it's always good if it's actually there as in your magnetic clamp, so the balancing of the gimbal is actually not gone, but you can actually go ahead and charge straight away from that port. How can I connect my phone to Flow 2 Pro via Bluetooth? Now, you can simply turn on the Bluetooth on the Flow 2 Pro, open the Insta360 app on your phone, and then tap on the camera icon. Then automatically, the app is going to search for nearby Bluetooth devices. Then it's going to pop up and show you that, say, look, you actually have an Insta360 device here, which is the Flow 2 Pro. Would you like to connect to it? All you got to do is say yes, and it just connects. It's that simple. Does the Flow 2 Pro support NFC pairing? Say, for example, you're having an Android phone. All you got to do is basically unlock it. You got to look for where your NFC is as part of your settings. It says use NFC, required device and unlock for NFC. Okay, just go and do that. Launch NFC. Now, this bottom button is actually the power button. So you got to press and hold that and it'll actually switch on, or the simplest way to power it on is pull it up. That's it. It's powered on. So all I have to do is to, again, tap at the NFC. The app opens up and you're actually looking for the device. So let's say, okay, let's go ahead and connect the device. It says connecting new device, searching for one. And all it's NFC. NFC just triggers the Bluetooth connection. So the actual connection is finally still happening over Bluetooth. And finally, we are actually connected. Yay. So I can press a button on it. The tracking starts. So this is where I'm recording, literally, a very shabby table, but with my ZV-10 Mark II and my Flow 2 Pro. What is DeepTrack 4.0 and how does it work? Well, there is a detailed video that I've actually done on DeepTrack 4.0. If you're interested, the link is pasted in the description. I can just tell you as a summary, DeepTrack 4.0 is part of Insta360's app, which actually has some machine learning based AI algorithm, which actually helps you to follow multiple subjects or a single subject. It can follow different type of subjects like just stationary items like a pole or a post or something, or like people, like animals, all of them, and always keep them centered, or if you're using the golden ratio in one of those 9 squares, and always keep your subject in frame. What it does predominantly in the most simplest understanding or definition, DeepTrack 4.0 enables the content capturer like you and me to keep the subject in frame no matter where we are actually moving. Is the Flow 2 Pro compatible with Android devices? Yes, it is compatible with Android devices, but there is a limitation on number of features. Because of the Apple Docket integration, some of the features are actually exclusive to iOS, but most of the other functionalities can still be leveraged in the native Insta360 app, which pairs with your Flow 2 Pro and delivers the opportunity to capture some awesome content. What are the dimensions and weights of Flow 2 Pro? It measures around 120 mm by 282 mm by 54, and it's actually open format but not telescopically completely opened up, and it weighs around 357 grams. So along with the phone, you're seeing somewhere a weight between 500 to 700 grams as the overall setup. How does the Pro Framing Grid feature work? Now, there is a specific video which is part of DeepTrack 4.0 where I've shown a pretty long version of sample video showing all the 9 square grids and then how the composition would change based on which grid you would like to be. as part of the video, or which grid your subject would needs to be as part of the overall composition of the scene. But in a pretty simple way, you're actually having 9 grids actually out there, and your subject could be part of any of those 9 grids, and the rest of the scene is actually your background. And that's how your framing is actually done. One thing you need to remember is that the Pro framing grid is only available when the tracking is on. If you switch off the tracking, then this Pro framing grid is not available. So it will only work as long as the tracking is on, because it needs to track the subject so that it can actually have rest of the background scenario or rest of the frame being rearranged based on how your subject is moving. Can I control the Flow 2 Pro remotely? Yes, it can be controlled remotely by using a second phone or an Apple Watch, allowing it you to do different adjustments both in terms of framing your scene as well as in terms of zoom levels. These are the 2 things that you can easily actually control. What is the price of Flow 2 Pro in Australia? The standard bundle is roughly around Australian dollars 240, while the creator bundle is roughly around $290. Well, they say $289.99, but for all practical reasons, for me personally, it's $290. Sometimes you do get some offers from JB Hi-Fi, Harvey Norman, or Ted's Cameras. Always look out for that. When you get an offer, go ahead and buy it. Whatever 10-20 bucks you're trying to save, you can actually spend it on buying some ND filters. What should I do if the firmware update fails? Ensure the Flow 2 Pro is powered on, Insta360 app is open, and the battery is at least 20%. Restart the device and reconnect to the app. If issue persists, contact Insta360 support. They are a very friendly support, and they are actually also available on chat in addition to email for you to go ahead and contact. Can I use the Flow 2 Pro with third-party camera apps? Yes, you can do that, but it is restricted to iOS and it is restricted to iPhones, because the way Insta360 app interfaces with other third-party apps, that means non-Insta360 apps, is by using the Docker Kit. Now, since the Docker Kit is actually from Apple, part of the iOS ecosystem, so you got to part of the iOS ecosystem to go ahead and leverage the third-party apps and take advantage of the Flow 2 Pro. What type of third-party apps using the Docker Kit that you can actually connect? As far as I know, you can actually connect it to the Blackmagic camera app in iOS ecosystem. You can connect it to the TikTok app. You can connect it to your Instagram app. You can connect it to your Teams app. You can connect it to FaceTime, as well as I think you can also connect it to WhatsApp video calling. What is the payload capacity of the Flow 2 Pro? It supports smartphones weighing between 130 to 300 grams and a width of 64 to 84 millimeters. How do I reset the Bluetooth connection? Like I was mentioning before, hold the trigger button and the shutter button for 3 seconds to reset your Bluetooth connection. It'll help you a lot if you remember this combination, especially if you're switching between an iOS and Android device. Then you might need to reset it 1 or 2 times. Otherwise, if you're just sticking to one device, which is going to always be with your Flow 2 Pro, then you hardly need to reset your Bluetooth connection. What do the indicator lights signify? The indicator lights provide information on battery status, gimbal mode, and recording status. For example, a rapidly blinking bottom light indicates low battery. Is the Flow 2 Pro waterproof? No, the Flow 2 Pro is not waterproof and should not be used in wet conditions. Where can I find the user manual of Flow 2 Pro? The user manual of the Flow 2 Pro, in a funny way, is available on the website, although you gotta dig a little bit. But in case you don't like digging, no worries, I've dropped a link to it in the description of this video.